FNCS Groups is officially done, and we just had MrSavage and Mongrel fall to what might be the most ridiculous script I've ever seen, missing out on qualification by 1 place, but a lot of people saying they're still going to qualify because someone who is above them is actually cheating. I want to talk about all the crazes that broke down in the NA group as well, and talk about how they can still qualify if this person doesn't get banned. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. We've got to kick off talking about MrSavage, Mongrel, and Panzer being 1 place off qualifying to grand finals. But not only 1 place, it's because they came 2nd place in their very last game to Moneymaker. Like, the script is just ridiculous right now. If you haven't followed Mongrel, Savage, and Panzer this season, let me sum it up. They were going 1 drop. The bird. They started getting heavily contested. Then the bird got nerfed. They ended up leaving that drop to go over to Shattered Span. Then the team that had been contesting them at the bird didn't even qualify, so they could have stayed there since the very start. Then the bird gets buffed. They say they're not going to go back. They're sticking to Shattered Span. They then somehow get put in by far the hardest group in FNCS, and the other tier 1 team that's contesting them is in their heat. So they have to go back to the bird, and then at the end of all of this, with 1 game left to qualify, they clutch up, they get deep into the end game, and they come 2nd to Moneymaker. And not only that, if they had played either of the other groups, they would have qualified. They got 190 points and it wasn't enough, but in group 1 and group 2, qual was like 175. Not just that, if any of the other 5 teams above them, you know, the other 5 best teams in this group, won the game, they still would have qualified. The only way they couldn't qualify is that the last team that beats them is a team that was behind them on the leaderboard, which was Gutenberg, Clown, and Moneymaker, which I'm extremely happy for them. I'm super happy Money made grands. That is huge, not just for Moneymaker fans, but also for Controller Gang. Seeing another Controller player make EU grands really keeps the hope alive, but it was so unfortunate. Not only that, Savage, Mongrel, and Panzer, a lot of people are saying, through their last game, they were on high ground, they took it early, it was an easy breezy end game until they got to the final 3v3. They had the med kits, so they gave them to Savage. Savage looked up, he saw that he had about 5 med kits and there was only about 20 seconds till zone closes, so he thought, hey, I'll play the med kits. Turns out he had Storm Sickness. Storm Sickness warning went off, he committed to the med kits and ended up going down to Storm Sickness. A lot of people saying if they just took the fight against Moneymaker's team, they almost definitely would have won it and would have qualified to grands. Now, you've probably already heard this because pretty much as soon as Mongrel, Savage, and Panzer didn't qual, it was all anyone was talking about and what MrSavage is doing on stream. A lot of people are saying there's a few teams above them that are a little bit suspicious on the leaderboard. We have some teams that have very few events played. They played a lot of their events on other regions and now playing on Europe. There's a lot going around. As soon as MrSavage and Mongrel just miss out in qualifying, everyone's going to get the pitchforks out, everyone's going to get the magnifying glasses out, and everyone's going to try to find anything to get a team above them banned. And this always, you know, rubs some people in the community the wrong way. I get it. It's frustrating. It can't be avoided when you have such big names miss out on qualifying. Their fans are going to want to see them in grands. My logic always is if teams haven't cheated, there's nothing to find. They're not going to get in trouble. No one's going to get banned. Even if all these players get reported, unless they deserve to be banned, Epic won't ban them. They have to manually check this. Now, I do kind of wish this would happen off stream and it wouldn't happen in front of all the fans, because even if you tell kids not to go out of their way to try to ruin people's reputations, they're going to do it. And even if none of these players are cheating, the fact that, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are saying that they're a cheater, that's going to follow them now with their reputation for the rest of their career. And if they are cheating, well, then they shouldn't have been cheating. But if they're not cheating, that's where I do feel bad for the players as well. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if someone gets disqualified. It's really an awkward situation as well, because some of the teams that have been accused of cheating, you know, won a game, and we don't know necessarily how the spots roll down. Let's say that a team who won a game gets disqualified. Does the spot roll down to whoever's in 11th, Mongrel, Savage, and Panzer, or does it roll down to whoever came 2nd in that game? But not only that, what if the team that came 2nd in that game also won a game later? Does that spot then roll down? It's really messy, and that's what would probably happen, because most of the teams who ended up winning games today, they did really well in the first few games before they got a win. They got a lot of 2nds and 3rds, so it's a really messy situation. Do I think Mongrel, Savage, and Panzer are going to get into grands through groups? Honestly, I don't know. We only have a couple days now before Last Chance qualifier starts. They can still qualify through Last Chance, and the script, the storyline, if this team pulls off one of the wins in Last Chance, is going to be absolutely ridiculous. So going through the games and who qualified on EU, we had game 1 won by Country, Finnick, I believe it is, and Uppel, super underrated team who came out and got a 6 elim win. I don't think almost anyone saw this coming, especially in such a stacked group. This is by far the most stacked group on EU, like I was saying earlier. To back up that stat, shout out Kinch Analytics. He was running the stats for the broadcast. They showed that there was almost 400 FNCS finals appearances across all the players in Group 3 combined. That is over 100 more than Group 2 and Group 3. So it's not just that the qual points were way higher. This group was truly the best group. So really underrated team coming out and taking the win. But the other 4 wins, I would say, went to teams to be a little bit more expected. We had Ping, Wox, and Malabuka. They came 8th place in game 1 and then won game 2. Then we had, of course, Vico, Venom, Flixie show up and get their win that everyone was waiting for. They got a 15 elim second game 1, an 11 elim third, and then a 14 kill win. This team was absolutely dominating. Then we had the Poles show up and get their win. Seti, Hari, and Kami. They came 3rd place in game 1 and then got the win in game 4. And then, like I already touched on, we had Gutenberg, Clown, and Moneymaker get the game 5 win with the 8 elims. They started the tournament slow. They had a 30th, a 15th, and a 16th, but their last 2 games was an 11 elim second and an 8 elim win. So very, very strong finish from Moneymaker, who was actually contested at Whiffy Wharf. So really good performance from Not a Good Drop and well contested. As for the other 5 teams that qualified through consistency above Savage Mongrel, we had Skyjump, Shakos, and Mumsy, which I know Queasy and the Queasy fans aren't going to be too happy about this. There's rumors of Queasy now leaving Seaport City to go Kappa Kappa Factory. I don't see Queasy leaving a drop spot that he has been dominating leading up to this, especially when elims are worth 4 points in the final. So being conned, if you can win it as much as Queasy has been winning it, might not be the worst thing in the world. We'll see. But the only reason is Kappa Kappa already has 2 teams that have claimed it in grants. There's no way Queasy's going to leave a drop spot he's dominating against one team who he's been doing well against to drop on 2 other teams. I just don't see it happening. Maybe, I don't know what's going on there. Then we had Frantic's team come in 2nd. We had Poloshka come in 3rd. We had Artiste, Cryfalls, and Ifrozy come in 4th. And then we had Combek, Blaha, and Mixon, the team that had been going Shattered Span that was causing Savage the issues before they moved back to the Bird. It's just, the storylines are ridiculous. Now, we did have some really big teams just miss out on qualifying. Focus, Rescard, and Della were so incredibly close. ADN, Michael, and Jakey, I talked about them in yesterday's video. The British goats coming back, doing really well and just missing out on qualifying. We're also missing Snazy's team, Twire's team. We're missing Tripburn, Thomas, and Fredoxy. Thomas HD is now gone from coming 2nd place at Globals to now not even making it out of groups in the next season. So they've still got last chance qualifier, but as you can see, even just in this group alone, we have some really big teams who need to clutch up for one of the last 3 spots. Moving on over to NA, this group wasn't as stacked as Group 2 on NA, but I think it was more stacked than Group 1. There were some really good teams who needed to get a qual here, and most of them did. So we had Rapid, Kanata, Bolt come out and take the game 1 win with 7 elims. It was honestly one of the most boring wins I've ever seen. They took height, they played it really well, and the lobby just kind of died out beneath them, and they just dropped down and got the freest win I've ever seen. I mean, this team had the caliber to get a win against a hard lobby as well. It just so happened they came out and got what felt like a really free win. We did have Acorn, Ages, and Poyo, again, the X trios. They've all been going at it. A lot of drama on the timeline. They came 2nd in that game 1 with 13 kills, but bounced back the next game and got the 10 kill win. No one was surprised there. Then we had Noxy, Virgo, and Curly, another favorite. They got the game 3 win after getting 2 4th places in the first 2 games. Then we had a bit more of an exciting victory royale going to Bucky, Okus, and Craze. Now, Bucky had already gotten a 12 elim second earlier in the tournament, so close to the victory royale. Got the 16 elim win in game 4. I didn't even realize until Bucky said it in his reaction. This is Bucky's first grand finals, and he said 2 years. I think it's more like a year and a half, basically since chapter 4, since Copenhagen. So Bucky, Okus, and Craze through to grand finals is super exciting for all the 313 fans. And then the only really more underrated win, pretty much a win that I didn't predict come through and most of the people in the community weren't expecting, went to Havoc, Degen, and Sandman. Now, as far as the top 5 consistency points, we had again some big names a lot of people were expecting. Noah W plays, Chaos, and DC Awesoma, Oliver OG, Dash, and Skater, Quanti, Byler, and Edgy. But this is where these 2 teams I didn't predict, and I don't think many people did. We had Max GG's in 9th, and then we had Oreo's team in 10th. Now, there are a couple big teams missing from this heat, the biggest of all being Taki, Ishu, and NPen. I thought for sure they were going to qualify out of this group. I predicted that one 100% wrong. We had Day, FNCS winner Day, coming 11th, just missing out on qualifying. So there are some big teams who now again need to clutch up on NA through last chance qualifier. In case you guys are confused, I keep talking about last chance. It's super simple. Basically, in a couple of days, we're going to have an opens tournament. It's open to everyone. Div 3, 2, and 1 can play in it. So if you guys aren't Div 1, you want to play FNCS, now's your chance. You've got 3 hours, 10 games to get top 33. And then if you make it into the finals, you then get to play 3 games to try to get 1 win and go through to grand finals. This format should be good for anyone who makes finals if there's not a lot of underrated aimers. The opens is going to be a nightmare. Even Div 1 tournaments have had so many cheaters in them at the moment. I can't even believe what's going to happen when it's Div 3 and Div 2. I am really worried for big name streamers like Savage and Mongrel. They're going to have to run massive delays if they want to try and have an even good chance at making this. Once they get to finals, I hope Epic will be really on top of it and checking the leaderboard and making sure that it's not a bunch of cheaters in the finals. But if they make it through, obviously, you know, the final lobbies are going to be a bit easier. You're missing the 30th best other teams on the region. It should hopefully not be too hard for some of these big teams to get a win if they make it to finals. But opens is going to be a different story. That is going to be a very, very interesting tournament to see how it plays out. Fortnite hasn't done this kind of tournament before. I'm interested to see how this format plays out.